It is your girl messaging with a smile. We reading Deuteronomy chapter 11. Oh my goodness. I'm just so excited. I just reread chapter 10 and it just, whoo! Verse 1 of Deuteronomy chapter 11. Therefore you shall love the Lord your God and keep his charge. What is his charge? It is his statutes. What are his statutes? They are his precepts. And what are his precepts? His commandments. Always. When? Always. Verse 2. And know this day, for I am not speaking to your children who have not personally known and seen it, the instruction and discipline of the Lord your God, his greatness, his mighty hand, and his outstretched arm, his signs and his deeds, which he did in Egypt to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and to all his land, and what he did to the army of Egypt, to their horses and chariots, how he made the waters of the Red Sea flow over them as they pursued you, our descendants, and how the Lord has destroyed them to this day, and what he did to you in the wilderness until you came to this place, and what he did to Dathan and Abiram, sons of Eliab, the sons of Reuben, how the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up them, their households, their tents, and every living thing that followed them in the midst of all Israel. Refer back to Numbers chapter 26, verse 9 and 10. Verse 7 of Deuteronomy chapter 11 goes on to say, for your eyes have seen all the great work of the Lord which he did. Therefore, you shall keep all the commandments which I command you today, that you may be strong, and go in and possess the land which you go across the Jordan to possess, and that you may live long in the land which the Lord swore to your fathers to give to them, and to your descendants, a land flowing with milk and honey. For the land which you go in to possess is not like the land of Egypt, from which you came out, where you sowed your seed and watered it with your foot laboriously, as in the garden of vegetables. But the land which you enter to possess is a land of hills and valleys, which drinks water of the rain of heaven, and a land for which the Lord your God cares. The eyes of the Lord your God are always upon it, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And if you will diligently, if you, two very 5 letters, it says, if you would diligently heed my commandments, which I command you this day, to love the Lord your God, and to serve him with all your mind and heart and entire being. He said that in chapter 10. He said it again in chapter 11. He says, if you will do this, I will give the rain for your land in its season, the early rain and the latter rain. This is a promise, that you may gather in your grain, your new wine, and your oil. We still need rain today, folks. Verse 15, and I will give grass in your fields for your cattle, that you may eat and be full. So take heed to yourselves, lest your minds and hearts be deceived, and you turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And then, if you do that, then the Lord's anger will be kindled against you, and he'll shut up the heavens so that there will be no more rain, and the land will not yield its fruit, and you will perish quickly off the good land which the Lord gives you. Verse 18, therefore you shall lay up these words. He says, therefore you shall lay up these words. You shall lay up these my words in your minds, in your hearts, and in your entire being. He says, bind them for a sign upon your hands and your forehead and between your eyes. Those are figures of speech, but they're letting you know, keep them close. Your hands are close. You see your hands every day. Verse 19, and you shall teach them to your children, speaking of them. What are we talking about? We're talking about his commandments. We're talking about his words. You shall speak them when you sit in your house, and when you walk along the road, and when you lie down, and when you rise up, and you shall write them upon the doorposts of your house and your gates. Why? Why am I going to do this? So that your days and the days of your children may be multiplied in the land which the Lord your fathers, he swore to your fathers. The Lord swore to your fathers to give them, as long as the heavens are above the earth. For if you diligently keep all this commandment, which I command you to do, let me remind you what it is. It's to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave to him. Then the Lord will drive out all these nations before you, and shall dispossess the nations greater and mightier than you. He says, every place upon which the sole of your foot shall tread shall be yours. From the wilderness to Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, to the western sea, the Mediterranean, your territory shall be. Therefore shall no man be able to stand before you. The Lord your God shall lay the fear and the dread of you upon all the land that you shall tread. As he has said to you, behold, I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, which I command you this day, and the curse, if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God. And turn, don't turn, folks, don't turn aside. He says, but if you turn aside from which I command you this day and go after other gods which you have not known, and then your God has brought you into the land which you go and possess, you shall set the blessing on Mount Gerizim and the curse on Mount Ebal. Reference Joshua chapter 8, verse 33. That's what is going to happen if you don't listen. Verse 30, it says, are they not beyond the Jordan, west of Road, where the sun goes down, in the land of Canaan, living in Arabah, opposite Gilgal, beside the oaks of Terebinth and Moreh? For you are to cross over the Jordan to go in and possess the land which the Lord your God gives you, and you shall possess it and live in it. You shall be watchful to do all the statutes and ordinances which I set before you this day. Be watchful.